What do you think, Mulder?
About the guy's plumbing?
About his story?
I think this is going to turn out to be a huge waste of time, just like all the other X-Files on entity rape. Unsubstantiated phenomena.
But in a substantiated crime.
Welcome to Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. I'm Chex, joined as ever by Luke, and this is a podcast where we go through each and every episode of X-Files.
Oh, we've not explained what we do in a while, to be fair.
Well,
I guess we'll assume.
I'm thinking just like, maybe a short sentence where we just sort of, maybe not, what if there's a new person that's just tuned in right now and they're like, I don't understand the context of this.
Season 2, episode 11, you think, do you know what? I'm going to jump on there.
Who knows? What if this is their favourite episode?
True. And
now,
if it is, thanks for joining with us on this journey.
Don't pander to them now, because you know what they see now? They're going to join in and go, yes, this intro sounds good. This is very professional. Hang on. The co-host has just interrupted him halfway through.
And that's pretty much what will happen for the rest of the episode. Yeah.
How are you, Luke?
I'm good. Did you say what episode number it was?
It's episode 39 of the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, they would have seen that in the title anyway.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's their favourite episode. They know what their favourite episode is.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That's true.
I'm pretty sure this is everyone's favourite episode.
Is it?
Yeah.
On what basis?
What I've just said.
Yeah. Just assumptions. This is.
Well, we haven't even told them what episode it is, so let's talk. Let's do a little bit of banter first.
All right then. Let's do some classic banter between us.
Yeah. So, do you want to start us off with the banter?
Do we have to?
Tell you what, why don't you just tell me how your week's been?
Yeah, that'll do.
We'll stick to the good old tried and tested method.
The usual. I'll tell you about my life. It's going good. What have I done? I've watched all of Luther that was on this week.
I've been watching Luther as well, but I've caught up. Literally watched from season 1.
Yeah. Have you watched the latest ones?
Watched a lot.
Have you watched them all?
Really enjoyed it. Oh, God. You know what? It's one of those things where, when everyone tells you to watch something and you go, yeah, I'll get to it.
Me with Breaking Bad.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then you watch it and it's like, bloody hell, why didn't people tell me to watch this earlier? And it's like, they did. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, I mean, if you've never seen it, basically, Luther's a crime drama, basically, where the main guy Luther's played by Idris Elba of The Wire and Thor fame now, I suppose. So
is he in The Wire?
I think
he's a good-looking man, Idris Elba.
He's like 40 odd as well. He's a lot older than he looks. So yeah,
and he's a beast as well. Like, he's huge.
He's a DJ as well. Did you know that?
Is he a DJ? Yeah, there's nothing that man can't
Honestly, he's the coolest man in the world.
He is pretty cool.
Yeah, I've been watching that because it was on all over New Year's, and it was one episode a week, 1 episode a day. Sorry. So yeah, that was good. I really liked the way it wrapped up. I won't go into spoilers and everything for anyone who's interested by it. But I thought the ending of it was the perfect way to end that series, and I hope that that's the end of Luther as is. I don't want them to do any more from it, personally, anyway, because there was rumours that we're going to do a film a while back, but I hope that's it now, and that's that story done, because it seemed to wrap up quite well.
Yeah, I did enjoy. I enjoyed every season, and I got to tell you, as much as I love Luther, Alice Morgan's my favourite character.
Alice is everyone's favourite character, to be fair.
Is she really? Because I've been watching it in a bubble, so I don't know.
I think when we were watching it live, everyone was talking about how Alice, or if she wasn't in an episode, she was
noted.
When is she coming back?
Yeah.
What is? Because there's a series where she doesn't pop up until pretty much the end.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember which one it is. But yeah, I think she's everyone's favourite, but. It's just strong casting across the lot. Even Michael Spineley's character, the hacker dude, basically his computer mate.
Yeah.
Basically, as every copper has, their computer mate
It's Benny, isn't it?
Benny, that's it. Yeah. Even his character, he's only a minor character. Well, not a minor character. He's
In
sort
the
of
first few
between.
seasons, he was.
But even that, he's a strong character, and especially by the end of the series as well. Like you're rooting for him. And again, I'm not going to say any more because I feel like I'm going to stray into spoiler territory. But yeah, what else have you been up to? Because if we've both been doing that,
I'm trying to think. Have we?
We watched Wrestle Kingdom, which was it's probably that's for a different podcast. I would imagine.
Yeah, I don't think.
If you are interested in Japanese wrestling, then hit us a tweet and we'll include it more often. Right? I don't think that's going to happen.
It's a bit niche, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have we done a podcast after New Year?
No, the last one we did was this is the first one we've recorded this year.
Oh, well, on that subject, I just want to. Just let everyone know that, obviously we took a week last week because obviously with Christmas and New Year, couldn't find time to sort of organise a recording, but back to normal as usual.
Yeah.
New Year was pretty great. It just went out and I had a few drinks, nothing too major, but it was a lot of fun. Apart from that, just getting back to it, me and my fiance have been basically bedridden with illness again.
Pretty much everyone has been.
It just keeps going back round and round and round.
Yeah.
Like we can't get rid of it.
It's just going to keep going around until we drop dead. Basically, I think that's what's going to happen.
It's the apocalypse. You've heard it here
the
first.
flu apocalypse. Yeah.
Imagine if we are the podcast to announce the apocalypse, and in centuries to come, when humans have risen again, they go back and they go, bloody hell, these guys. They got it right.
I mean, of all the podcasts they're going to find, they're going to dig through the rubble. They're going to dig past cereal.
I like how our podcast has become a physical thing, like a disc.
We'll burn them all onto it.
Just for this scenario.
Put them on tape and we'll throw them into the ocean.
So they
dig past cereal.
Yeah.
What other popular podcasts are there?
The cereal, that's what you got.
Yeah, I don't know any of it. I don't listen to popular
I'm just talking about
ones.
all medium. So, they see, I don't know, the Godfather trilogy. Yeah. Get that out of the way. It's in the way. They
literally in a case.
they find, I don't know, Beethoven's Third Symphony. Bang, out the way. What do they find? Most Unwanted on tape.
On tape. Why have we done this to ourselves?
And they listen through 2 seasons, and then they realise they got it right. On a serious note, though, isn't it weird that the podcast, our voices, well, not just our voices, like hundreds of hours, by the time we finished, hundreds of hours of our thoughts and our voices are going to be on the internet after we die.
Yeah, I kind of, I'm happy for this one, because I always think, I'm not thinking this is going to be my my pyramid. No one's going to look at this and go, that was Luke. But it's nice that there's something out there that you've done that, even if it's not some people have families and stuff like that. And I mean, hopefully one day. But something that's something that you've created, I guess, is just out there and you just leave it there.
I love the idea that you're on your deathbed at 90 years old and just I come in to see to say my final goodbye.
Oh, why am I down first?
I come in to see final goodbye and just to tell you the Podbean have purged all their history.
It deleted the lot.
It's gone the lot.
Good job we got the tapes.
Oh, right. I think that's enough banter. Shall we?
Yeah. Talking of apocalypse, no, that's not a good
segue. And I am not going to segue Excelsis Dei.
Well,
oh God.
As they say, carpe diem, seize the day, but this, you can't with this one, it's Excelsis Dei, so so let's get on with it.
This week we are looking at Season 2, Episode 11 of The X-Files, titled Excelsis Dei. Now I'm assuming that's how it's said.
I had Excelsis Dei, but I don't
well, it's DEI, isn't it? Yeah. Is that Dei?
Dei? I don't know. Well, let's call the whole thing off.
Okay, let's do that then. And to be honest, it's very rarely mentioned in the show anyway.
It literally just shows you the name of the home, at the beginning, that's about it. So
exactly.
It doesn't matter.
It originally aired on December 16th, 1994. Written by Paul Brown. And once again, something else I can't pronounce. Director was Steven Surgic.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
We're happy to go with that.
New names? I haven't seen these before.
we've seen Paul Brown.
Oh, have we?
Because I mentioned that one of my boss's boss is
Paul
Brown.
Yeah. I remember
And I wonder whether it's the same guy.
Did you ask him?
Well, I mean, he would have been 10. But you never know.
You never know. Mozart learned, like, piano at 3, so...
Yeah, but he's got, like, is it a southern accent that he's got? I'm not sure. But I don't think... It's definitely not US.
Mozart's got a southern accent.
Yeah, Mozart, yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
Where's Mozart from?
Germany, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, Siri, where is Mozart from?
Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was born in Salzburg.
Where's that?
That's in Germany.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Well, I only know that because of football, Red Bull Salzburg.
That'll do. Thanks, Siri.
Hang on.
That's how Siri said.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's Austria.
Hey, Siri, where is Salzburg?
Sorry, I don't know.
No. Hey, Siri, where is Salzburg?
Sorry, I don't know where that is.
It doesn't know it.
She is the worst co-host in podcast history.
Siri's off.
Right.
Anyway.
Quick, you search where Salzburg is. I'll continue.
I mean, this has literally nothing to do with the plot. But,
yeah, but I've made myself... Oh, well, no, I've not. I reckon it's Austria.
It is Austria.
Yes! I said Germany first anyway, so whatever.
Close enough.
Yeah, that's fair enough. They're basically the same place.
Yeah.
Right, so shall we get on to the actual episode?
Yeah, let's move on. To be fair, I feel like we've probably offended many people. Yeah. If you are from Austria or Germany, we strongly apologise.
And to prove that we love Austrians and we love Germans, we can prove that because in our previous 37 episodes, we give them so much praise. You should go download them all.
Yeah, to be fair, actually.
Check them all out. Download them all first and then start checking them out.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, then... Fair enough. Yeah.
We have to really listen, though. That's the problem.
It's subliminal, isn't it? That's the way the cool kids do it now. So anyway, on with the show. We start off at Excelsis Dei convalescent home in Worcester, Massachusetts. Do you know what a convalescent home is, Luke?
I'd never heard the term before, to be honest. I know now, obviously, it's like an old folks home, basically, isn't it?
Basically, it's to deal with I think it's to deal with terminally ill patients.
Yeah.
I think that's the idea behind it, and it's somewhere for them to go to get constant care.
Yeah. It's a sad place.
Yeah. And it touches upon that in this episode with the different ideologies of different sort of civilizations.
Yeah.
At the start of the story, we see a woman walking into a large white building, which we then found out to be the convalescent home.
It even says Excelsis Dei. I think this is the earliest we find out what it
means. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. 20 seconds.
Inside, staff members are watching a boxing game. They start fooling around and play fighting when the woman then enters. And then when she walks into the room, she looks at them, calls them both morons, basically. And one of the men tells her that Mrs. Richards has died. And it was this afternoon. She asks whether he's cleaned the room up, and he's right from the off. These two seem like knobs, don't care about the job. Yeah,
they're really callous. Literally from the first time you see them, and I just thought, well, this is going to come back to bite them, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm pretty sure he actually says something like he describes it as face planting into a pudding.
Yeah,
when she died. So I was
it's
just
like,
oh.
Man, how heartless.
But anyway, the nurse leaves to change the room, and they carry on watching the fight. And she enters a room with two elderly patients, who we later find out are called Hal and Stan. And they're watching the fight too. And she turns the telly off, and they both start moaning instantly.
To be fair, anyone would... If you just came in and turned their telly off, like...
Well, it is the rules there.
Yeah, but...
I understand.
Old enough to know better, you know what I mean? Like, it does annoy me that, like... They treat like kids, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah.
But however, it doesn't justify what happens next.
Well, that is definitely true.
So, and if this is a regular occurrence, I would switch the telly off anytime I walk into the room as well. As she's basically getting their beds ready, Hal proceeds to grope her, basically, making comments, and she ends up strapping his arms into the bed to stop him doing it. And she's taking it in good humour. She jokes them and saying, he says, "Oh, you like strapping me down," and she says, "Oh yeah, I really get off on it." But it's something about this doesn't feel right, does it?
Yeah,
I was like,
it's one of those things where it's a really different generation of people, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, it's not right, but it's a very old way of thinking, I suppose. Like, in this day and age, if you did that to anyone, rightfully so, you'd be reprimanded for it, but again, wherever these were young adults.
But even in the 90s, I think, when it actually aired, I feel like it wasn't taken as seriously as we do now.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure obviously, it was known as a bad thing to do, but I don't think it was taken seriously.
I reckon the general attitude would have still been what she does, where she just laughs it off.
Yeah.
Like, whereas, if that happened,
it's completely different.
It would be such a darker tone in like a show if somebody started doing that to somebody. But like I said, it's just such a different time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Even 20 years ago, like it was different attitudes.
30 now, mate.
30.
This is flying by.
I'm going to be dead soon.
So on her way down the hall, once she leaves, she tells another staff member, who we find out his name's Gung, to not let them watch TV after 9 p.m. He says he was told they were getting better, but she tells them that that's because they don't grope the other staff members while they enter the room. That's what whoever's telling them that they're getting better obviously doesn't have to deal with the stuff she's dealing with.
Yeah, exactly.
And then she then leaves to clean up Mrs. Richardson's room. And as she's cleaning, the door suddenly slams shut. The bed flies across the room on its own, and sort of barricades the door. And she screams for help, and basically she just gets thrown on the bed as she's trying to pull the bed out. And so she's screaming for help, and the camera cuts to an empty hallway where just no one can hear her. She's just screaming into the abyss. And then we see the intro titles. What do you think of the intro?
Well, immediately I thought I felt sorry for you because I know how this is our 39th episode, and every time we've had a ghost plot, you've expressed your disdain for it, and I thought, no, and he's got to do all the notes on it, so I did kind of feel sorry for you. But I mean, we'll get into the rest of the show later on. I think it actually it handled it quite well. I mean, it was a bit right from the off. It was a bit like it was kind of Evil Dead style. Have you ever seen Evil Dead? Like where
I haven't, no.
She gets like attacked by in a haunted tree at the beginning, and similar kind of thing. She gets raped basically by it was kind of that where it's meant to be a serious topic, but it's kind of the way it's done is kind of
being thrown around by an invisible force.
It's almost slapstick. No, it's not slapstick, but you know what I mean. Like it's that weird physical like.
It's jarring to see with the eyes, isn't it?
But so yeah, it was a weird intro, but it didn't immediately put me off. I was interested to see where it went because we didn't have any dodgy effects or anything like that, especially at this point anyway. So
okay, so
how about yourself?
Well, yeah, I thought very much the same as you. I thought, oh no, here we go again, another ghost. But this episode I was pleasantly surprised, and I'll get into the reasons why. For now, we go back to the FBI headquarters. Mulder enters his office. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, it's what he says. I was remembering.
Yeah, Mulder enters his office, and Scully's watching a tape, and he jokes that whatever tape she found in the VCR isn't his. To which she retorts that she just put it back in the drawer with all the other tapes that aren't his. Oh dear, I know this is not. I know this is the truth as well. Like I'm pretty sure Mulder's got tapes and he's literally got calendars up, hasn't he?
He's got like dirty calendars up and stuff like that. And I just think, as an FBI agent, is that okay to have like basically
different time, mate? Different times.
Pornos in your office.
But then Scully goes on to tell Mulder about what's on the tape, which is showing it's in the background. And it's showing injuries to the nurse that we saw at the beginning, who we now know is named Michelle Charters.
She looks a completely different woman in this as well. Like...
She's bruised and battered, hasn't she? Got a big sort of black eye.
Yeah.
She tells Mulder, Scully, tells Mulder that Charters says she's been raped, and the medical reports all back this up. And she goes on to say that Charters made the video herself, as no one will believe her, and because she's claiming to be raped by an invisible force.
Yeah.
Mulder starts looking for similar cases he has in his files, and Scully tells him she's already looked, and they both discuss how none of them have been substantiated.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting here that Scully took the initiative of looking into past X-Files, basically. Like, this is so, again, like, we're halfway through season 2 now, and this is a completely different Scully to them.
Oh, yeah.
She would have probably dismissed this early on in season 1, but now she's taking this on board more than Mulder is, especially at the beginning.
Well, this is why I like this episode, and I'll go into this a little bit more later, but do you think that's because she's growing more used to the X-Files, or do you think that's because she feels more passionate about the subject of it being a rape?
I suppose it could be both, really. Like, yeah, it's more of a it's not a woman's problem, you know what I mean? Like, because I mean, anyone can get raped, but it's more of a fear for like women and stuff like that. So I guess it is more. She's got more. What's the phrase now? She's got more. I don't know. I can't think of it.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, basically, it could mean more to her than it could to Mulder, and especially in the 90s where, I think guys are a bit more ignorant to that kind of stuff happening. So.
I think it was a very interesting choice to have Mulder be the skeptic in this episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it felt, and I don't know whether this was intended at the time, but especially in today's day and age where everyone's sort of hyper aware of sexual assault,
especially with the amount of high profile cases that happen,
it felt to me very purposeful that Mulder was dismissing these allegations, and it had to be fought and not just proved. Like, injuries didn't make a difference to proof. It had to be beyond proof.
Yeah.
And I just found that very interesting and a very interesting choice, and I don't know whether that was intended or whether it was just sort of a nice idea to flip them both around and see what happens when Scully takes the initiative.
Maybe, yeah.
But it didn't feel like that to me, and watching it through that perspective, I found it very fascinating all the way through the episode. But I'll point it out as I come across it.
But I mean, at the end of the day, we'll get into this more. Well, to be honest, it only really crops up at the beginning, the rape story.
It does crop on a little bit later, where I made my notes on it, but I've just skipped ahead. But
it's weird that we're watching. Well, it's not weird, to be honest. Like, knowing how the world is, but like that this episode was made 94. These issues are still happening today, if not more than ever. You're in, or at least they talk to it more than ever. So it's just funny that 30 years later, and it's still it's still as relevant.
Yeah, exactly right, and it's a shame it is.
Yeah.
But anyway, when we get back to this, and Mulder, so Mulder's looking for the cases, and Scully's already found them out. Mulder mentions that the trauma caused by rape can confuse the victim, even into sort of not being able to identify them as basically they remember a blurry face or sort of impaired vision. And he doesn't think it's a massive leap for them to sort of think that there was no one there or was an invisible force. It's just the trauma that's causing that. But Scully mentions this is different, as Charter seems certain as to who the spirit being was and is suing the federal government. So it's interesting. And immediately when I heard that Charter knows her attacker, I thought this is that guy that was groping her. Arden. Hal Arden, his name is. We cut straight into the interview with Charters now. Still looking worse for wear.
Yeah, definitely.
She names Mr. Hal Arden as her attacker in an interview with Mulder. And she goes on to tell them he's been a patient where she works for the past 5 years. Mulder asks how she knows it was him, and she tells him that after all the advances that she's been subjected to, it wasn't a big stretch for her to pick him out. And she also mentioned that after bathing a guy every day for the past 5 years, you get to know his smell, you get to know how he feels. She could just tell it was him. Scully comments on how hard this must be, but then she says, this is the easy part. What's harder is having to go back to work, because she petitioned for time off with pay and it was refused.
See, I missed that part because I did wonder why she went back to work so quickly. So I
can't imagine how horrendous must that be. It doesn't ever really make it clear whether it was Arden per se. I mean,
I think it's implied that it was one of the ghosts that
Yeah,
like,
but
inhabit it.
we can't really be sure whether the ghosts... It doesn't specify whether the ghosts were like a projection of themselves. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I read it as they were just sort of... They were ghosts, but it was like, now... I don't know, something was happening that was sort of drawing them all to it.
Yeah.
It's difficult to follow at some points, but yeah, I mean...
But regardless, that's got to be... If she believes that it's this ardent, that's got to be horrific.
Yeah, exactly.
To have to go back to work, and especially in this profession where you've got to bathe that person.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God, I can't imagine. But obviously, and quite rightly, she begins to get upset about it. Scully asks for physical evidence. Does she have anything that can prove this? And Charters gets even more upset, tells them that she didn't make any of this up, and if she had evidence, she would hand it over. But all she has is what she knows. We then cut to the Excelsis Dei, and Mulder and Scully are interviewing Hal Arden whilst he is being bathed, talking about out-of-touch scenes. Another scene here where I was just like, this would not fly. And I found this is why I found this episode interesting. Not so much about the paranormal side of things. I just found that the juxtaposition between now and then.
It's an interesting time capsule.
Really
like
is,
times,
fascinating. So, first thing I thought was, what a weird place to conduct an interview. Can't you just wait for him to get dressed?
Yeah, I thought that, Well, another thing, I didn't realise the guy from the beginning was called Hal until later on.
Oh, yeah.
So when she was saying it was Hal that did it, I was expecting Hal to be like a dead, former resident, and then when they're talking to him, I was like, oh no, he's to which then I was like, well, he can't have done it because he was invisible, and then that's why I was questioning what was happening. So
yeah, it's a bit of a strange one.
Yeah,
Hal's laughing at their claims. He goes on to tell them he's 74 years old and has plumbing older than this building, and then he opens his towel to show them, both Mulder and Scully.
Yeah.
This is not on. Like, my God.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that you hear about in, 70s showbiz, you know what I mean?
If you was I know it's a different time. I know Scully doesn't pay it any attention, but if you was the male officer or detective in that situation, you'd arrest him immediately, wouldn't you?
Also, to take into account, this is supposed to be an Alzheimer's patient, so you sort of would be like, is he in his right mind? I mean, we find it later that he definitely
is. Oh, this guy just creeped me out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he opens the towel and shows them his plumbing, as he puts it. And he goes on to say it doesn't work like the buildings either. I almost thought this scene was meant to be funny.
That's what it was trying to be, I think, yeah.
And I just didn't see it that way. I really didn't.
I can see the funny side in it, that this old man just drops Treo, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, if this wasn't an old man and this was a 40-year-old, it's a very different scene.
And not just that, is it, even back in the day, is this funny when we've been told not 30 seconds earlier that this guy has raped
a potential
somebody?
rapist.
Is this? I don't know. But that's the feeling. I think it was meant to be funny.
I suppose they're trying to paint it as it's absurd that he would do it because he's so old and he could never.
That's the way it feels.
Never do it, basically.
Mulder thanks him for sharing and asks if he's aware he's being named in the lawsuit, and Arden just seems confused. Scully asks if he ever threatened Charters, and he tells her it was harmless. Goes on to say he was just saying what was on his mind, and that this generation, we're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like I said, everything that he's saying now is stuff that you hear some people say on Twitter. And, and it's people didn't change. They still have this old idea of, should be able to pinch people on the eye. And you're like, no, you can't do that.
You definitely shouldn't. Charters tells them he thought that she claimed that she was, and I quote, rogered by a ghost. And he said he certainly can't float down hallways spreading a moor. At this point, his roommate Stan is walking past, listening to the conversation, which gave me my first clue of, there's something else going on here, because they really focused it on Stan's face.
It's you shouldn't be talking to the FBI, basically.
Once Arden left, Mulder tells Scully that he thinks this is going to turn out to be a huge waste of time, like all the other cases, an unsubstantiated phenomenon. To which Scully replies, yes, but it's a substantial crime. Another indicator for me where I was just like, really strange to have Mulder just dismiss every rape case that he's come across. Do you know what I mean?
He's so against it when usually Mulder's he's not the skeptic usually. You know what I mean?
If this show was today, I would automatically assume that they were doing this on purpose and putting Mulder in the role of the police force as a general.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As like just dismissing it all and not wanting to take it seriously, and it's not their burden of proof and whatnot. But I don't think it was meant to be that. I think it was just meant to be an interesting way to go about the episode. So.
Yeah.
But like I said to you earlier, we had a brief discussion off mic, and I said to you, art is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
And I suppose the way I saw it is if I'm taking it like that, then that's the way it can be read. You know what I mean?
That's the thing, yeah. At the end of the day, if you see it that way, then that's the way it was intended. Not
for me,
exactly.
For me personally. So then we jump to in the grounds, and Mulder and Scully are talking to Mrs. Dawson, who's a manager at the home.
Yeah.
And she tells them a brief history of the place, and how funding has been cut so much over the past 10 years, and only a few of the wings remain operational. Mulder mentions that they're meeting with Arden, who they were told had Alzheimer's by Miss Dawson. But Mulder says he seems quite spry and alert. He doesn't seem like an Alzheimer's patient.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Dawson reveals that she's aware of the allegations that have been told, that have been put against him, but that Arden's been there for 8 years and he's well liked by the staff. Scully asks if she doesn't believe the allegations, and she tells them that she would like to show them something.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, while this is all going on, Stan's watching them from a window, and he asks Hal what he told them. And Hal tells them that he told them nothing, that there's nothing to it, he just kept his mouth shut. And Stan tells him he needs to be more careful, and basically he goes to his bedside table and takes some pills out. Hal asks where he got those, and he says, I know where he keeps them. Arden asks for one, and Stan says no, and Arden basically threatens to rat him out if he doesn't give him one. And we just see Stan looking at him angrily. Interesting, so we now know that Stan's involved as well.
Stan's involved, and there's something to do with pills.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it slowly reveals the plot to you, and I mean, obviously by the end you can pick...
We get thrown through a bit of a loop as well, don't we, in this next scene. We go through to Mrs. Dawson's office, and I think it's like a rec room, isn't it? And Mrs. Dawson shows Mulder and Scully a report on charters showing she's requested full leave and pay numerous times for things like emotional stress. Scully asks if she can review the files herself, which she agrees to. And then Mulder asks if she had seen the injuries to charters, and she confirms that she has. And he begins to ask if she thinks she staged these injuries, but is interrupted by a nurse telling them that Arden is choking. So they rush there, nice and quickly.
At this point, you must think that, what I thought was that Stan had something to do with it.
Yeah, which is what I think that's what you go on to believe up until the end. And I suppose, I think that's the only way to take it.
I mean, you could see it as, I don't know, some ghost.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But at this point, you don't really know that side of things, do you? So they rush into Arden's room, and he's seemingly being what looks like he's being strangled by I thought he was being strangled by this invisible force. And Stan is telling him that he told him he couldn't handle anymore. Mulder and Scully rush in, and Scully tries to treat him, but Hal, he just seems to be drifting away at this point. And we see, I did notice here, we see Gung in the doorway, sort of watching slowly and then backing away. And I thought, is he involved in this?
He was really sneaky. So at this point, I was like, well, something's up with this guy, but I didn't know what.
The funny thing was, every time I began to suspect somebody, they'd put someone else in the background, just sneakily walking past. Later that day, a body bag containing Arden, obviously, is being taken away by paramedics. And a doctor arrives, I believe his name Dr. Grego, I want to say.
Grego, yeah.
I don't think I heard his name. I searched his name up afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's spelled Grego.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Grego.
Grego, yeah.
So, but the doctor describes this as a setback to Mulder and Scully, as he was one of the patients he'd been treating for Alzheimer's recently. And Scully seems surprised by this because, as we know, there isn't a cure for Alzheimer's. And he tells them it's an experimental treatment, and it's called Deprenol, I think it was.
I think, that's the name of it, yeah.
So, at this point, we're thinking, that's what the pills are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
I did have a feeling that there was something else to it, but I didn't know what at this point. Yeah, but you just thought, those are the pills.
Yeah,
so,
definitely. He tells them his patients are showing marked improvements after these trials, and Scully asks if they could speak to other patients who are being tested, to which he agrees to. And inside, Stan's taking another pill, and Gung notices this time, and asks him where he got it, and he tells him it was Howell's, and Howell doesn't need it, so what's the problem? Gung tells him that he gives him enough of what he needs, and too much of this is bad, very bad. So he says, you're not going to get any more pills anymore. So Gung's providing these pills. So at this point, I didn't know whether Gung knew where the Alzheimer's treatment was being kept.
Maybe he was giving them more than they should, or something.
Yeah, maybe that was the case. And then, sorry, this is the rec room scene.
Mm-hmm.
Mulder and Scully are being shown the ward where the patients are being kept.
Yeah.
The doctor remarks on their improvements, including one patient, who we now later find out to be Leo, not being able to draw a circle when he came in, and now he can do full illustrations, like when he used to. Yeah,
you even see, in this point, he's doing an illustration when you get to
this really nice sort of drawing. The doctor excuses himself, and Mulder goes to talk to Leo. He doesn't seem to talk much, but his friend, Dorothy, tells him that he's a talented artist, and President Kennedy has one of his pictures in the White House.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's true or not, but I'd like to think it is.
I mean, she probably needs to keep up on the news, I think. Who was the president at this time? 1994?
Are you asking me? Who is?
It must have been, what's his name, wasn't it?
Do you mean Clinton?
Yeah, I think it was Clinton.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I'm not so sure. Scully asks him about his drawings. He tells them that it wasn't the medication. And she tries to pry for more information, but at that point, nurses come to collect the patients, and they all get sort of taken away.
I wrote down here, pretty sure it's not Gregor's drugs helping. And then literally as I started typing that, he said that. And I was like, there we go.
Yeah.
Leo literally spells out the rest of the plot that there's something else there.
There's something else to it, yeah.
Yeah. But again, even at this point, I still didn't... I wouldn't have guessed what it actually was.
No, it takes an interesting turn.
Yeah.
At the hotel that Mulder and Scully are staying at later that night, this, again, I know I keep banging on the same drum, but this is another interesting insight into this whole how rape's dealt with. Mulder and Scully are discussing the importance of this possible discovery, which is the Alzheimer's cure. And Scully looks nervous and suggests there may be a connection between the medication and the rape case. And Mulder almost mocks Scully at this point, but Scully argues that a side effect to similar drugs can cause schizophrenia.
Yeah.
And when Mulder asks about the invisibility aspect, Scully suggests it could be the place itself. And Mulder asks if she thinks the place is haunted, because if she does, she's been working with him for too long, which is a nice little poke at himself there.
Which is funny, because it turns out right.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I don't realise he's guessed it.
She then goes on to say that there could be a viral component that could cause delusions or dementia. And when Mulder asks why it wouldn't have affected the other residents, she suggests that maybe it has, maybe it's not just Arden, we don't know, we've not found out. So she almost begs at this point to sort of, can we stay and talk to the other patients?
Says they can still catch the same flight out tomorrow, so...
Yeah. But again, Mulder makes a bit of a comment just before that, where he says, you're looking too hard for something that isn't there, and for Mulder to say that, of all people...
I know, he's a bit rich in it.
And he's taken this case to decide that he doesn't need to know anymore. But I think Scully stands up for herself well here, and she's like, no, I need to know. Because I think she says Charles didn't make this story up.
Yeah.
So they agree to spend one more day there. And next day they go back, and one of the patients is being force-fed by one of the nurses. These nurses are awful.
I know. They're the sad thing is, you hear about there was recently a scandal about this one.
Yeah, there was. It was about a year ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, where what was it like? They were basically abusing the
CCTV caught a lot of sort of nurses in elderly homes or retirement homes, basically bullying them and beating them and berating them and awful stuff.
Yeah, it's terrible. These people have been through whatever they've been through. Some at that time they could have been been through World War II, and then you've got.
And not just that, they're paying all of the money that they've ever earned in their life to be there. And they're defenceless.
Yeah, it's crazy. But Yeah, I hate when you see this because it's just like, well, everyone's got to go through that, and you just I hope this never happens to me or anyone I love. You know what I mean? Like,
down the hall, Leo's refusing to eat his food too, and he tells Gung, who's feeding him, that him and Dorothy both need more medication as it's not working for them like it is the others. And Gung refuses. And Leo tells her not to worry, that they can get some from Stan, who has some hidden away. In another room, Stan's fighting what we now learn to be his daughter, who's come to pick him up. And he's telling her that he wants to stay there.
Yep, this is the first point like where I sort of... I picked up on his accent, and it was a strange accent. I thought it sounded slightly British, and I didn't know if he was meant to be, or... I
couldn't place the accent, but it sounds to me like it was almost dubbed onto him. It was a really strange voice.
Yeah, it did sound weird, but yeah, it's just something I picked up on when I was listening to him talk.
Yeah, he does have a strange accent, I have to admit. But yeah, he's arguing the point with her, and a nurse tells her to wait outside, and he will make sure Stan gets downstairs safe. And then Mulder and Scully turn up and ask to talk to Stan's daughter. And she offers to help, and she says, yeah, that's not a problem. And as they walk away and they have a conversation, Stan's daughter explains Stan has been there for 3 years, and his improvement has been remarkable. She basically, like I said earlier, thought they were bringing him here to die. And then all of a sudden he's back to his usual self. She puts it down to the treatment... The experimental treatment, but Stan won't talk to her about it. Every time she brings it up, he goes silent.
Yeah, and it seems like everybody's sort of attitude, like in there, like all of the old people in there, they just don't talk about what's happening.
No, exactly. Like they're keeping it hush hush. We cut back to Stan's room, and the nurse is packing up Stan's things, and Stan makes a run for it, like literally talking about him being back to normal. He literally legs it out the room. The nurse gives chase. He chases him all the way up to the top floor to an open window, and he sees Stan climbing on the roof, and he tries to follow him, but then we cut to someone's point of view behind him, and he pushes him out of the ledge, and he manages to grab on, but he's hanging from the window ledge. And Mulder sees this from below, and he rushes up to help. And as the nurse holds on, we can see his fingers, and what appear to be his fingers being pried from the window one by one.
Back.
Mulder gets there, reaches for his hand, but he's too late. This nurse falls and dies on the floor. He does fall like 7 flights.
I was going to say, there's no way he's surviving this.
No.
I had a theory at this point, because obviously I think everyone does this, doesn't they? When they watch like stuff about like mysteries, is try and figure out what it is as you're going.
Oh yeah, that's half the fun of watching.
I was going to say but I've thought at this point that these pills that we're taking was doing something. Have you ever heard of like astral projection? Is it where your spirit goes outside your body? Yeah. I had a feeling, I had a theory that it was going to be something to do with that these old people were able to. That's what I
thought it was going to be. Yeah, like they could do things that their body can't do.
Yeah, like externally to them. I thought maybe that's what it was.
But that's what I sort of don't get it, because like does Stan command this ghost to push him out the window? Because it feels like a plan that Stan's put together.
I mean, later on they sort of say that the spirits are angry with what's happened in here, so I guess maybe he's just... it's an opportunistic spirit taking its revenge, basically.
Maybe, but then it seems like such a weird place for Stan to run on the roof.
Yeah. Maybe he's... I don't know,
You know what I mean?
He's doing a backflip now. He's like parkouring across the roof. I don't
know. So, yeah, we'll carry on into later that night, and Mulder's with Stan in his room, and he's the doctor that was there before, Dr. Grego. He arrives and asks what happened, and Mulder suggests he may have been pushed.
That was in the morning, wasn't it? Not the night.
Oh, was it of the night? Of the morning? Sorry, yeah, okay, fair enough. Grego seems unconvinced, but Mulder notes there's been 2 deaths in the last 24 hours, and Stan's been present for both deaths. Grego tells him it's impossible. Stan literally couldn't get up there with his bad hip. He's got a degenerative disease, and his hip wouldn't allow him to go up the stairs. Mulder asks for Arden's post-mortem to have a look into this more, but is informed it hasn't arrived yet, and so they leave, and Stan and Gung exchange a look as they leave.
Again, more hints of there's something between him and the old people, but we don't know what.
Yeah, I feel like Gung's covering up for them at this point, but I don't know why at this point. In the other room, Stan's daughter asks Scully why Mulder is questioning Stan, and she tells her it's just routine. But outside the room, Charter's having an argument with the manager, and Scully hears this and goes to have a look what's going on. And Charters says that the other nurse hasn't turned up this morning, and how is she meant to deal with this entire workload?
Yeah, especially when there's meant to be 3 of them, and there's just the one.
Just
basically.
her, yeah. But she ends up storming off, and the manager asks Scully, what's going on? What's going on here? And then they're interrupted by Dorothy, shouting at something to go away.
Yeah.
They go to investigate, and Dorothy tells them that they're all there, they're in the room. Scully looks, and the room's empty. And Dorothy insists they go in there, and the manager tries to take her back in the room, but she just puts her hand up against the door frame, refuses to go in. And Dorothy suddenly tells them to leave Scully alone. She looks at Scully, leave her alone, leave her alone. And we see her point of view. For the first time, we see what she's seeing. And it's a lot of ghostly figures around Scully. Just looks like they're sort of circling her and looking at her.
It's the first ghost effect where I've looked and gone, that's not, like, silly. You know what I mean? Like,
it was actually quite creepy.
It's that same type of effect that you get when you go to, like, a... reminds me of Haunted Mansion, you know what I mean? Like that sort of like you could tell it's an actual person, but they've been like, what's it called now? Pepper's Ghost, is it?
I don't know what it's called.
Where they projected onto like mist. I can't remember what it is, but yeah, it looked like that kind of effect, and that one to me is more believable than like in some of the series 1 episodes where it was like a shadow person. Like you know what I mean?
Exactly. I thought this was actually. I thought it was quite creepy, like the way they were just circling her, the way that you don't really have a face. I just thought it was quite well done. And Scully seems panicked, almost. She excuses herself, and the ghosts follow her down the hallway, what we see from Dorothy's point of view. And we go to Gregor's office, and Arden's autopsy report comes in, and they look through it and notice Arden has I'm going to get this wrong. Ibotenic acid in his blood.
I think that is it, yeah.
Which Grego believes is a type of poison.
Yeah, he thinks they're being poisoned, basically.
Which, where would that come from? Why would people be poisoning these people, and how would that help the Alzheimer's? You know what I mean? So, Scully enters, and after hearing what's going on in the report, she tells them that it might not be poison, but a small amount can cause hallucinations, which is what she's just seen in Dorothy.
Exactly. So this starts.
She puts 2 and 2 together, doesn't she? Grego asks where they got this from, and Charter then interrupts and tells them basically, come quickly, we need you. And she leads them to the community room where a giant sketch has been drawn on the wall, and Leo's actually still there on a stepladder painting.
I say sketches.
Oh, yeah. It's like a memorial, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's
incredible.
Like huge like painting, that he's done on the wall. And it's a really good design because it's like what they've been seeing are these ghostly effects. It's that kind of thing. There is these like white things, isn't it, around it? I can't do it justice without
it is a
seeing
fantastic
the
picture, painting, I suppose. Mulder all of a sudden asks for the Asian orderly. I don't know where this came from.
That was weird. I thought that was weird as well.
They focus in on a section of the painting, and I was wondering whether there was maybe it was I don't know, like Asian culture based, but I don't think it was.
I didn't pick up on that looking at it. I've watched Japanese films and Korean
and there wasn't
films,
anything particularly
and I know bits and pieces of their culture and stuff. I've never seen anything like that. So
where did this come from?
I don't know.
But all of a sudden he asks to see him.
Yeah.
And the doctor tells...
Maybe we're going to be stupid now. We'll look through the notes at the end and go, oh yeah,
it's
based on this. Okay, fair enough.
The doctor tells them that he can be found in the basement, and Mulder heads there immediately.
Yeah.
And so he goes down there, starts searching. He comes across a padlocked door, just breaks into it, just uses any old metal scrap, breaks into that, and he enters the room and finds what essentially is a mushroom farm. It's a really dark, dingy place, and there's just shelves upon shelves of mushrooms. And he investigates one, and then notices something buried in the dirt, digs it up to find the orderly that hadn't showed up to work that day. Dead, obviously. Not like you were just hanging out.
Again, at this point, I thought, are these mushrooms draining the life from...
Yeah,
I couldn't... I don't know. I was sort of still lost at this point. And
I wondered whether it was fumigating the hospital or something like that, you know what I mean?
I don't know, yeah. It was... Yeah, I mean, like, until the end, you're sort of left in the dark, really, on what it is. It's just... Yeah. There's something to do with these mushrooms, but you don't know what exactly.
No, exactly. Later that day, they find Gung and they start interviewing him. And Gung tells him he didn't kill them, but admits it is his mushroom crop. And he tells them he's growing them for medicinal purposes, and he was feeding small amounts to the patients, and it's making them feel better. And Gregor asks about the mushrooms, and Gung tells them it's an old remedy from his country. He felt a duty to take care of them, as their families sent them there to die, don't want to know about them, and he feels like they even get disrespected from the staff as well, which they do. He's got a point there,
and he's seen all this, you know.
Definitely. And his whole point is in his culture they treat their elderly with respect, whereas that's not what he's seen at this hospital, if you like.
And he goes on later on. We do find out that he's from Malaysia, I think. So yeah, maybe that mural is something in Malaysian culture that we've never seen, but I don't know. It just didn't add up.
It didn't seem like it to me, but very strange. So yeah, Mulder asks about the dead orderly, and Gung tells them something has gone wrong. He tells them that they take mushrooms in his culture to speak with the dead in the spirit world. The spirits in this place are angry and continue to suffer, and now have been awakened. And he believes the spirits killed this man. Mulder tells Gregor to check on the other patients and asks Gung to come with him. And Gung takes them back to the basement again, and he goes to his stash of pills, and he says someone's taken them all because their stash is empty, which we know that Stan knew it. How did he get through the padlocked door?
I guess Mulder's bashed it off now, isn't he?
But he had the pills before Mulder bashed it off, didn't he? So how did Stan start stealing these pills?
I don't know. Maybe he left a key under the door.
So something like nice and simple.
Yeah. One thing I did like about this, and I mean, we do get a bit more of it later, is for at the end of this episode, there's no real villain and no big action set piece.
There isn't, no.
Like
apart from the
water part. Yeah. But even that's like, it's not like the other episodes. You always seem to end in like a chase or a shootout or something like that. You know what I mean? There's like a battle between two people. This was quite different in that nobody was at fault, really. It was just that there was these spirits, I guess.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of innocent parties here, really. Yeah.
And by the end, it's nobody wins.
No, they don't.
But anyway,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, we'll get to it, yeah.
Mulder pulls Scully aside, tells her he thinks she has been right about the medication. Only it's the mushrooms and not the deprenol.
Yeah, I think it is.
I keep on getting that wrong. Scully disagrees, saying that the mushrooms only cause hallucinations. They don't raise the dead.
Yeah. Mulder's changed his tune.
I know, yeah. But Mulder maintains that whatever has been happening is something to do with the pills, and that something has been released in the home. In Stan's room, Stan's daughter walks in on Stan taking the medication. She tries to stop him, but Dorothy starts screaming outside. She goes to investigate, but nothing's there again. And then Dorothy tells her to run as the ghosts Dorothy sees starts to approach her. And Leo calls for Dorothy. Dorothy, I mean, there's a lot of names here because it's all happening really quick.
Yeah. But
Dorothy rushes to his room to find him on the floor, and he all of a sudden just gets dragged away. Yeah. The door smashes, and then I thought it was Dorothy screaming, but it's not, because Stan's daughter looks around. It's Mrs. Charters screaming in the other room.
Yeah.
Who's now being assaulted in...
Again?
In the bathroom.
Yeah. I would not have gone back to work.
Honestly, like this, it's all going off. Like, if it is if the spirit's causing this, they're all attacking everyone at this point. Mulder hears Charters scream and rushes to help. Well, Scully comes as well, should I say. There's both Mulder and Scully. But when they get there, Scully gets locked outside because the door shuts and leaves just Mulder alone with her. And all the pipes start to burst as well. And straight away I was like, this room's going to fill up with water.
It's like a classic. It's like a D&D trap, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly right, yeah. And poor Scully, she's trying to open the door, but it's not going to work. We know it's not going to work. So Mulder drags Charter to safety, shouts for Scully to turn off the water mains, and Grego turns up but doesn't know where the water mains are, and Scully says, well, Gung will know. So she goes off to find the water mains. And she eventually finds him, and he leads to the water mains, but they can't turn it off. It's stuck. And so she heads back, and meanwhile, the water's filling up to almost neck height, and really quickly, it's become like this desperate situation for them. As Scully rushes back, Stan's daughter asks her to help her father, who is now choking the same way as Arden was choking.
And I think at this point we realise that he's just taken an overdose of this drug, I guess.
Yeah, but I think by taking that overdose, it makes the spirit...
Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
Because it seems to be whenever they take the pills, the spirits come alive.
Yeah. I mean, the way I saw it is that in this case, it was just purely a chemical thing. Because they said it's like an acid. It is a poison,
and he is taking a lot of it.
Yeah, I just thought maybe he took too much of it and he's poisoned himself.
It could very well be.
Again, you can interpret it either way, and that's the good thing about this. Like, you can see a lot of it as, was it the spirits doing this, or was it more like, was it hallucinations, or who knows? Like, you can see it either way. But anyway,
yeah. But she tells Stan's daughter that she'll get help, and she ends up sending Grego back while she tries to open the door. This is what made me think it was the pills sort of bringing the dead back to life, because Grego puts the, I don't know what it is, like adrenaline or something like that?
Yeah, it's like I guess it's like an antidote, I guess.
Yeah,
to whatever he's taken.
And he sort of starts clearing up and sort of getting a little bit better. And as he does this, the spirits seem to rest, and the door suddenly swings open, and Mulder and Charters come washing out, and basically the hallway's filled with water.
It's a good visual, I find.
Yeah, it's always a good visual.
Anytime you see a door burst open and people just come in, it's the same as like, what is it now? It's not Star Wars, is it, where they do that? No, they don't.
There's a scene in Titanic which is very similar.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Where they're running away from the wall of water behind them.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just an easy stunt to do where you don't have to have an antagonist. You know, the water is the antagonist. Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically the end of the episode. We just get Scully reporting now. So we get an external shot of the home, and we get Scully's voiceover telling us that after the events that happened there, Grego's been replaced. So he's not won in any of this. His trials have basically been proven to be a sham, because it wasn't working. It wasn't working at all. It wasn't doing anything. And all of his trials have been suspended. Gung's been remanded to the Immigration and Naturalization Service.
Sent back to Malaysia.
Yeah, so not a good outcome for him.
Poor guy, man. Like, he was just trying to help these old people out.
And it was helping.
Yeah.
If they stuck to the right dosage.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Then Charter's case had been settled out of court, so I suppose she wins, but then she did get raped, so it's not really a win, is it? Let's be honest. I'm trying to find a silver lining to
winning
all of
in
these.
the smallest way possible.
Yeah, I suppose. It's a very small silver lining.
Yeah.
The progress and the patients, this is the saddest part.
I know, yeah.
The patients have just gone straight back to the state they was in before the drugs. Can you imagine that? Like, knowing that there's something there that can make them bring your loved ones back, basically. But they're in a terrible state, and they're just... You see standing there, and he's just sort of blank-faced, and he's
drawing a
suffering.
circle, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like, that's all he can do now.
And she finishes by saying the other spiritual events for now remain unexplained, which is a very common theme in most X-Files episodes.
I guess that's the only explanation that they didn't investigate more, is that it attracts ghosts.
It doesn't really go into how the ghosts appear and what's it got to do with... Unless, cause the thing is, I think they do imply that it's hallucinations. The ghosts aren't there, it's just hallucinations. But that doesn't explain how Charters was raped.
Yeah, or why they were trapped in a room.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then, started filling with water and...
So it doesn't really explain that. But, let's get into what did you think of the episode.
I thought it was probably the best ghost story we've had so far.
That,
the effects were believable. The plot was not too exaggerated, you know what I mean? Like, the actual ghost elements were quite simple, and it didn't go too far. With that being said, it wasn't an amazing episode. I liked it, but I thought it was sort of like an in the middle kind of episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
what you'd expect a Monster of the Week episode to be,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, it wasn't an outstanding one, but then it wasn't one that offended me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just a decent episode. So, yeah, that was what I thought on it. But how about you?
Yeah, much the same, to be honest. I really enjoyed it for, like I've said, the side story and sort of how I was looking into, like, the idea of how the rape case was being treated. So I enjoyed that side of things. I did sigh about the ghosts, but in all honesty, I thought that it was played very well. It wasn't overplayed.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the effects. I thought it was creepy enough, just enough that it kept my interest going through. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It didn't take massive leaps, I found.
No.
Like, yeah, it wasn't too bad in that aspect, but yeah.
No, superb. And now our favourite part of the show.
Luke's production notes.
So this week, we'll start with Excelsis Dei was written by Paul Brown, his final script for the series, after earlier episode, Ascension. Oh, so final scripts.
Okay, interesting.
And just so you know, I've catalogued these down, but I haven't read through them because I didn't want to spoil things through, so I sort of did them and bulleted them without looking at them, so that's news to me as well.
Interesting.
Is that a knock on the quality of these episodes? Because I didn't think... It did Ascension as well. I thought that was a good episode.
Which one was Ascension?
It was the one with... What's his name in it? Dwayne Barry. The second one.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was.
I thought that was a good
that was a really good episode, yeah.
Strange that they didn't get him back on, but anyway. This episode was directed by Steven Surgic, as you mentioned at the beginning, which was his only credit for the series. Apparently he'd reached out to the show's producers and requested a chance to direct an episode because he was a fan of the show. I assume he was also a director and not just a fan.
We should get in touch.
Yeah. Give us a go, yeah. Season 12. We'll co-write one. What would you write it about?
Ooh.
Let's say
the problem is, we're saying... I could give an idea now.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be... It might have already been done.
Well, let's pretend... Well, let's just go off what we know so far. Monster of the Week episode, because we're not going to bother touching the mythology.
Like, we're not going to... We wouldn't do an alien episode. I think they do that a lot better than we could.
Yeah.
What would I do?
I guess basically just pick something that, like
a monster.
A monster or phenomenon that's really interests you.
I think I've spoke before about it, but I really like... is it... Gwendolos, is it? Wendigos, that's it. What Gwendolos?
Gwendolos.
What's a Gwendola?
Wendigo. Isn't that a boat from Italy?
Got the gondolas. Wendigos, yeah. Oh, you know what I'd like?
Yeah.
The Pharaoh's Curse. That's what I'd do an episode on. I'd do it. The problem is you have to get them to go to Egypt.
We'll globe trot. I'd do mine on... do you know those like Japanese ghost stories? What are they called? There's a name for them. They made a game of it recently as well. This is going to kill me.
No idea what you're talking about.
There's basically like a name for like this collective of like Japanese ghosts, and they're always like, as ghosts always are, they're always like allegories for, you know, like this is a curse because in your life you were greedy or whatever, so you're all made of money and fall apart. Something like that, you know what I mean? Like something stupid. But what are they called now? Yokai.
Yeah.
I would pick like a famous yokai and do.
Okay, interesting. I think those are good episodes.
Because there you go. You get an Egypt episode and a Japan episode.
That's what we need to do. We need to write a series.
Yeah.
X-Files travel the world.
Basically, to be fair, I think we've just described Supernatural, though, haven't we? Where they just drive around to different places.
That's a very good point, yeah.
To be fair, most Supernatural programs, and it like...
Have you ever watched Supernatural?
Yeah.
I've caught episodes. I've never watched it religiously.
Yeah.
But I've caught episodes, and it seems very similar.
The format's quite similar, yeah.
Yeah, to X-Files, but they take it a different sort of route because, again, I could be completely wrong, so please don't judge me if I am. But from what I've seen, it tends to be, you've got the mythology episodes, which are taken very seriously, and then the Monster of the Week episodes are almost comedies. So it's a very...
It depends, like, on which ones
Oh,
they
is
are.
it? Because see, it's only the ones I've seen, but like I've seen... All the Monster of the Week episodes I've seen are very comedy-based.
Yeah.
And I thought that was quite a nice, refreshing take, because it can get a little bit dulled down if you're serious all the time.
From what I hear from later episodes of X-Files, there is that in some later episodes as well, where they have a comedic take.
Yeah.
Someone described an episode to me, and I don't know what happens in it, so I'm not trying to spoil it at all. But basically, it's told... And this sounds really interesting. It's told, basically, something's happened and they're both reporting on it, Mulder and Scully. And you see Mulder's report, like, stylized and shown, and Scully's. And their two reports exaggerate the hell out of each other's. Like,
Okay, yeah.
So, like, in Mulder's report, Scully is, like, dismissing everything and like there's all
that
this,
sounds really fun. I like the
that's
sound of that.
I don't know what the actual plot of the episode is, literally not a clue, but it sounds really good. Like, and some other ones as well that have been described.
I can't wait to get to those.
I know.
Yeah, I just want to watch all of it now.
Yeah.
That I want to get to the end.
We'll race through and then just do about 20 episodes in a go. Right, so yeah, anyway, back to the production notes. We veered off there. It's not unlike us to take a tangent.
I know, yeah, we're usually so straightforward.
To be fair, we didn't make many tangents in the show, so we're making up for it now.
That's a good point, yeah.
We're going to pad out the back end of the show. I'm skipping it.
Yeah, turn off.
Yeah. Production for the episode was notoriously difficult, and the book, The Complete X-Files, notes that it gave the staff headaches, both during the shoot and the editing process. Part of this was due to the script being delivered to the cast and crew only 2 days in advance of filming. That's probably why he wasn't invited back.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
That's kind of...
Especially with the writers that they have contributing so well throughout the season. Like, you've got, like, pros like David Nutter that's basically doing the majority of the episodes, and he's so good at what he does. Did you hear about David Nutter, by the way? The new Batwoman.
Oh yeah, the one with what's her name now? Ruby.
Rose, I think
isn't
Ruby
it?
Rose is penned to take the on the
yeah.
mantle. But yeah, apparently he's been brought in to write it.
Oh, okay,
That's quite interesting.
He writes a lot though, because he wrote some Game of Thrones
Game of
episodes
Thrones as well,
so,
yeah. So fair play. And I mean, he's not really put that many feet.
unlike one of us at this table.
How do you say that phrase?
He's not put a foot wrong. But you tried to pluralize it.
Yeah, I did. And he's not put any feet wrong. Doesn't work. So I just went feet foot. Sound like the giant from Jack and the Beanstalk.
Oh well. Yeah.
Next
anyway.
notes.
So yeah, I can understand why he wasn't brought back then.
Yeah.
If he did deliver it like that. Anyway, one part of the episode that was nixed during the writing stage was an extended look at Michelle's love life. Originally, she was explicitly described as a lesbian, and in one short scene, her partner enters her apartment to talk to her. Series creator Chris Carter eventually cut the scene because it felt, he says it felt too gratuitous at that point.
Like forced in for the sake of it.
Yeah, I guess that's what he would mean by that. It doesn't really elaborate on what he meant by gratuitous. I guess it didn't need to explore her backstory, I guess.
No, I mean, it might have added a little bit more horror to the rape, but then, like,
I mean,
a rape is horrifying regardless.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, it probably didn't need it. And again, if you're looking to cut for time, you cut out what you don't need.
That's the thing. And also, I think, especially in the 90s and that, if you're going to introduce like a lesbian, like, or a gay character, you've got to have a good reason behind it, because you're trying to put that out there into the mainstream, I guess.
Especially at that time, putting a gay character on the screen, you was inevitably going to get backlash for it. That's the thing. Which is, it's not right, but at the time, that's the case. Yeah. To be fair, even now you get backlash for it.
Which is silly.
It's bonkers, but you know it is what it is, and unfortunately, and you just got to keep fighting against it. And I'm glad that now it's not taboo at all, and you do have gay characters on the screen, and and rightly so. And
the best, or one of the most recent, like, sort of examples of that really worked, because it basically could have worked as any like couple, be it man, woman, a woman, man, or two guys, was San Junipero. I thought those characters worked
in Black Mirror.
Yeah. Worked perfectly, because it was just a normal relationship. It didn't matter that they were lesbian and stuff like or anything like that.
Yeah.
It just fit perfectly.
I think that's what. But again, you look at the critical acclaim that episode got. I think that's what you get. I don't think it made a difference to the story. Like, it really didn't make a difference who
That's
was
what I
who was
mean.
who. And I think that's, people don't mind, and people will get behind it if it's not. I think people push against it when you're putting it in as a gimmick.
Yeah,
because
that's the thing. Yeah.
It's, regardless of whether it's a gay or straight relationship, it's a relationship. It shouldn't be used as a gimmick. Like,
That's
there's
the
no
thing,
point.
yeah. Whereas there, it's just normal. It's
Yeah.
just like, it's just two people.
Which is what it is.
Yeah.
That's a
the
relationship.
thing.
At the end of the day, it
Yeah.
shouldn't be treated any differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, 30 years ago, it wasn't seen like that, and you would get backlash from it. I mean, look at again, I know we're going off on tangents again, but even in the real life adaptation of Beauty and the Beast, they made, is it LeFou? They made LeFou gay, which, let's be honest, in the animation Beauty and the Beast, doesn't really have anything to do. His only role in the animation was that he's obsessed with Gaston.
Yeah.
So they played it and they said, let's get a gay character in a Disney film, because we've never had a gay character in a Disney film. And I applauded them for that. Fair play. The backlash it got, and it's like, why? It makes no difference.
I know, yeah.
It makes no difference to the story. But and I literally, there was people messaging in, what am I supposed to tell my children? Tell him he loves guys. That's what's wrong with that. Like, you know what I mean?
matter.
It shouldn't be a problem.
Then again, in this day and age, people moan about a vegan sausage roll, so you know what I mean?
Oh, well, that's a very English thing. So,
Yeah.
should we? I mean, do you want to?
Yeah, we should probably
explain
go
that.
into that. Yeah. So basically, I think it was just after New Year, wasn't it? Greg's, which is like an English
bakery.
It's like a bakery, like they do pastries and different stuff like that. They introduced a new vegan sausage roll, which is just like a sausage pastry.
Greg's are famous for their sausage rolls.
Yes, yeah.
And now they've basically made a vegan friendly option, which is the same taste apparently.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's an option. They've given you you can have a normal sausage roll or a vegan sausage roll.
People went off the hook. Like, people didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
There was riots.
Well, to be fair, it's the people you would expect off the rails. It was like Piers Morgan.
Yeah.
And any like right wing nut job, basically. Somebody who moans about everything all the time just went off at this vegan sausage roll, and it's just like.
And I know, you know what? We've not spoke about this. This is literally the first time we've spoke about this, because it's been in the news.
Yeah.
But I know your reaction. I guarantee your reaction was going to be exactly the same as mine when I saw the story, which was,
Who cares?
Who cares? Yes, not even who cares. Just this sound effect.
Yeah.
And then move straight on. It made no difference to anybody in my life.
I might have one. I might not.
I'd like to try it and see whether it tastes the same.
Somebody at my work said they had it, and he said it's alright. It's nice.
Sweet. There you go.
Do you know what? I eat meat. I prefer vegan sausages sometimes, or like corn sausages.
Corn miniature. Not miniature sausages. That's not what they're called. Cocktail sausages.
Yeah, I've never tried them.
Oh, they are banging. Try them.
Bangouts.
They are really good. You need to give them a try. But anyway, shall we talk about the X-Files and not cocktail sausages?
And Piers Morgan.
And Piers Morgan.
Definitely not Piers Morgan.
No, let's leave Piers Morgan out of it.
Right, yes, let's probably get on with it. There's not too many more, guys.
So it's only about 40 minutes with all the tangents.
I know, yeah. We've literally doubled the length of the episode. Many of the scenes were filmed at Riverview Hospital, a psychiatric hospital located in Coquitlam, British Columbia. I believe that's how it's pronounced.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, internet. During on-site production, several of the members of the show's cast and crew claimed that they heard mysterious voices, and they refused to venture into the bowels of the building for fear that it was haunted.
Oh, God.
A real life X-File on set. You do hear about this, though, in old buildings and stuff like that. There's a where is it in now? It's in Los Angeles, I think. There's a hotel there, and
is that the one where like all the famous serial killers stayed and stuff like that?
There's that one. I think this is a different one. I'm not sure what one it is, but somebody, basically a group that I usually watch some of their videos and that, were filming in there, and they basically all don't believe in that like kind of stuff or anything like that. But he said he was filming on his iPhone, which is notoriously known to not crash ever. Like, iPhones just don't crash. He walked into a room which has been reported to be haunted, and his iPhone just broke. Like, not like dropped on the floor and broke. It just literally, the system just shut down and would not turn back on until he left the room. And it's like, that's weird.
Yeah, that is a bit creepy.
But again, I mean, there's probably an explanation behind it.
Yeah, or he's always lying.
Ghosts.
Was that a ghost in here?
Yeah.
Or was that just you whispering into the mic?
That was me whispering. As I get older, like I kind of want to believe in ghosts more. I feel like...
Oh, you know what? I like the idea. I like the idea of like where it comes from and whatnot, but it's not me.
I don't believe it, but I wish I did. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I want to be. Because it's like, it's comforting to know. Like, past it, you're like, I'll just float around all day and I'm like, yeah, I'm still here.
I've actually got an interesting ghost story in my family, which is quite interesting. Again, I don't believe it, but I like the fact... Okay, so I'll tell the story. So, my dad believes in ghosts. He's a truck driver, and his dad was a truck driver before him. And he was driving down the motorway once. He obviously, as all truck drivers do, works long hours, and he fell asleep at the wheel. And basically, he says in his dream, he's always believed in ghosts since this day, because in his dream, his dad, who had died by this point, by the way, he dreamt that his dad was sat on the seat next to him, turned to him and says, he did say some swear words, so I won't repeat exactly what he says, but he says, "Wake up, you," and then called him something not very nice. And my dad woke up and put it back on stage, pulled to one side, went and got a cup of coffee and blah, blah, blah. And he believes his dad saved his life that night. Now, in my head, I'm like, he probably hit the bumps on the side of the road, which woke him up. Yeah. And then he just had a dream. And that was it. He just put two and two together. But, obviously I'd never say that to him. I think that's kind of a lovely...
Hope he doesn't listen.
Well, he doesn't listen, so don't worry. But I think that's kind of a lovely way, like, if he's had that experience and that's the way he remembers a part of his dad, do you know what I mean? Like, that's nice for them to have.
That's
so. I never want to take that away.
People always say that, don't they? That ghosts are basically just us having an inability to let go of the dead. Yeah. And who are we to take that away from someone? Makes sense.
If it's a coping mechanism, then so be it.
I just do also hope that one day I'm a ghost who just floats around all day. That'd be brilliant. No worries, just floating.
The listeners can't see you doing the floaty hands. They're like just waving.
Yeah. Imagine. I'm sure you could do it yourself at home. Anyway. In order to film the scene featuring the bathroom door bursting with water, a scene Matt Hurwitz and Chris Knowles called Nail Biting. I think they were two of the cast that were actually doing it. I can't remember, to be honest. Like, I didn't look up the names, but anyway, they called it Nail Biting. The special effects supervisor, Dave Gauthier, again, I might have butchered that name, built a massive tank that was rigged to flood the set hallway with 3,300 gallons of water.
Wow.
I always like that, like seeing the actual, like, how they do these effects and stuff.
It always ends up being a lot more complicated than it looks on screen.
It takes them like hours to set up a 10-second shot or something like that. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And if they knacker it up, that's it. That's hours to set it back up again.
Like, we were talking about like the pros and cons to practical effects and CGI effects. And like, God, that must have been 10, 12 episodes ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago now.
But you can understand why they turn to CGI so often. Because when you see how long some of these practical effects take and the amount of money that has to be poured into them, when literally someone can do 95% of that on a computer, you can understand why they chose to go that route a lot of the time.
When I watched the making of Children of Men, have you ever seen that film?
I have, yes.
some of the scenes in that, they're like really. If you've never seen it, it's known for its long takes, and they're long takes of action shots as well. Like there's a scene where basically he's driving his car, and like there's a barrel that's on fire as people all run down.
Yeah.
The amount that an extra could knacker up in those shots.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if an extra just fell over in the background.
That'd be pretty funny.
It'd be funny. They'd have to reset the shot, and that could be like 10 minutes into this 15-minute shot. And it's like, why do you do this? Like, I'm sure that some directors see it as a challenge. Like,
there was they pull it off. It's a great effect.
There's a story in again. This is a complete tangent.
We are go for it because we might as well now. We've gone this far.
I've got one more left, and then Back to the Future 3. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it to you. So in Back to the Future 3, there was a story of them basically. Do you know the shot where the train goes past the window right as he says, like, we need to basically get the car in front of it.
Yes,
because they have to get the car in front of the train to push it.
Yeah.
Well, basically, he's explaining the plot as the train comes past, and then he's like, "Oh no, we've got to."
Yeah.
They did that as basically because apparently making spaghetti westerns is really cheap and not easy, but there's not a lot to do. Basically, you don't have much budget to spend on it, so they sort of set up these stunts to try and test themselves, and that literally was. They timed out all of the speaking to try and match exactly as it happened.
Super. Yeah. I love it.
Like that train set out at the beginning. And it's like, that's crazy. All this just because he thought, I reckon we could do it.
Yeah, let's try it.
Anyway. Last production note, and then we will wrap up. The episode features several actresses that have previously had parts in other episodes of The X-Files. Tasha Cassidy, who portrayed the daughter of Stan Phillips in the episode, had previously played the part of Cindy Reardon's mother in the first season episode Eve.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even recognise her.
No, I wouldn't have either.
Sheila Moore, who appeared as a background character in the episode Deep Throat, appears in the episode as a nursing home director. So I'm guessing the director of the home was
an extra,
in Deep Throat? Yeah, I don't know. I didn't recognise either of them, unfortunately.
No, I didn't.
That's the end of my production notes this week. So,
well, very interesting, and it created a lot of healthy discussion.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
So, I think we should rapidly wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we just go through a few bits of feedback once we can? Let's just pick and choose.
Yeah, we had a few. Do you want me to lead?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So, Kathy, a long-time fan of the show, got in touch, and she said that this is about the last episode. Red Museum is a tough one to watch. The only scene arguably worth tuning in for is the rib-eating face wiping scene. Loved your take on it, and she also says this is when we were talking about the what was his name again? Now Odin.
Yes.
And this guy is wrong. You can't refuse to comply with a warrant on religious grounds. The warrant is a judge's determination that the need to search for evidence takes precedent. At least that's how we do it in the state of Washington.
Which is different.
We said we weren't.
Oh, for all time's sake, just once more.
One more time.
Which is different to the city of Washington, which is Washington DC.
Yeah.
So Washington State and Washington DC, they're completely different places.
Yeah, that's true.
Just an FYI for you there.
Yeah.
And we've also I also got a tweet from Ray. Again, she was talking about our Simpsons special, and she told us that she'd watched it for the first time last weekend. And she also said that she's sorry to say that it's the only Simpsons show she's ever watched. So thanks for watching it to watch along with the show or listen along with the show. I'm so surprised that you've never seen a Simpsons episode. That's crazy.
Like most people, even casually, just sort of seen it. You know what I mean?
I don't think I could avoid it. I don't think I could have avoided it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's on. It's on that many channels, well, not that many. It's on two, but two of the main prominent ones. You know what I mean?
Let us know what you think. Like, if that's interesting. Like, what was your first impressions of The Simpsons? Because I can't imagine being thrown into a world of yellow people just randomly. So,
to be fair though, it is interesting. If this has changed your opinion on Simpsons. Let us know. Like,
I'd be interested to find out.
Did you like the episode, or did you only really like the Mulder and Scully parts of it? I suppose because. Yeah, if that's the case, then stick with the X-Files, probably.
But yeah, she did. She also sent in a picture of the picture of Mulder in his underwear from The Simpsons, and made a poster for it for the spooky X-Files con in Florida last October. So that looks fantastic, like just this big blown up picture.
Imagine trying to explain that to someone who's neither a Simpsons or an X-Files fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a little bit wild, but I love it. But yeah, thank you so much for getting in touch. As always, we implore you to get in touch whenever you can to let us know about what you think of the show, or just general chat about something that you've heard in the episode. We love to hear from you. You can get in touch through all the usual means. Just type in Most Unwanted Podcast into any social media. You'll find us, or you can email us on mostunwantedpodcast@gmail.com. But I think we've done enough tangents for this week, so I think we can just end it nice and quickly. Any last words, Luke?
Next week, we'll be looking at another episode.
That would have been good for me to do. Take it away, Luke.
Next week, we're looking at an episode called Aubrey.
Yes.
I had a slight hope that this might be a crossover with Twin Peaks.
Oh, okay.
There's a character in that called Aubrey. I think it's called Aubrey anyway.
They would work together as a crossover.
Yeah. Well, David Duchovny's in it, isn't he? Mm-hmm. And as a very different character.
That'd be fun though if you played both characters.
But yeah, I did think it. I had a slight hope that it might be, but I kind of guessed that it wouldn't.
Well, I suppose we'll find out next week.
We'll find out. Yeah.
Yeah. All right then. So from me, it's goodbye. From Luke,
au revoir.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, that continental flavour.
Oh, exactly what this show needs.
Yeah. Arrivederci.
Can I finish?
See.
Very good. I love it.
That's a compliment.